Hello and welcome back to the playground. I'm so excited to have you here. Let me tell you, I feel like it has been a very long week, and I had planned to record this episode earlier in the week. And yeah, I've really had to just experiment with what I was going to talk about, I guess, before we dive in. So I know for a fact we're going to talk about time and our relationship with time on this episode, but we'll see where this takes us because I also feel like going with cards today and just kind of seeing what messages come up and following that path. So, okay. I just need to ground myself for a minute. I felt like I was ready, and now I'm like, let's get grounded. I have a new mug. It is so beautiful. It's from Quartz Co. And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see how beautiful it is. It says raising my frequency. Okay. Slight pause. So, time. It's come up so much lately, honestly. Like everyone that I talk to, there's been this relationship shift with time and stepping into different perspectives and really tuning into like, how can we work with time? How can we create with time? And it has been a humbling experience for me because this honestly is something that I struggle with. In the past, I have been that person who says I don't have time for this and this and this, and really use time as an excuse for a lot of things. And about a year ago, like over the past year, I would say, maybe longer, I found myself not being able to use time as an excuse. Like I just wasn't naturally saying like I didn't have time to do that. If there were things that like I didn't do, I found like myself communicating different things. It wasn't about time. And then I did catch myself like wanting to say that, or like just like the actual words of I didn't have time to do that. Like that phrase would still like try to come out of my mouth, and it was like, no, that's not right. And what this comes down to for me, and for a lot of people that I have talked to about this, is where are we prioritizing our focus and our energy? And this seems so simple, but it's like if there is something at the end of the day that we feel like we didn't have time for, then I'm seeing like a bunch of like clocks and mirrors. And basically, like, where is this reflective in like other areas of your life where you're choosing to either do something or not, right? Like in the example of time, like I didn't do this because I didn't have time. At some point, it was a choice to do other things besides the thing that you're saying you didn't have time for. And I had this like reflection of, why am I not prioritizing what I want to do? And time was something that I wrote down, but when I was like reflecting on it, it's like, wait, time has nothing to do with what I do or don't do. And it was really just zooming way out. And I am like laughing at all the parallels going on right now in my head, but also like replaying the last couple weeks because I had written down that this was the episode that I was going to share this week. And I had so many nerves, like kind of planning out the month, but it's so interesting how like every week I've had these examples that come up, and it's just like, I needed this. I needed this reflection. So earlier in the week, I guess last week, I asked my kids in the car, because, you know, we were running late and then there was a train and there was just like more traffic. So we were observing these things, and I caught myself like saying like, oh, we're going to be late. And I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, what is time? And it was like something I just said in the car, right? And my oldest was like, Well, time, I think, is just a reference point. And she went on and said, um, it's like a reference point in our experience that I'm trying to think of the exact words, but it was very detailed, and I could just like see the linear path in her brain of how she kind of came up with this, because she's like, at some point somebody decided that we needed seconds and minutes and hours, and they used the stars and the sun to help them kind of categorize this, and now we have time as a reference for our day. And I was like, okay, that's like an amazing thing to understand, for one, that it is a point of reference. And I was sitting in the car like, wow, that was not a question I was expecting an answer to, or like at least not a thought out answer. And honestly, I don't know that that answer was very thought out, because she started speaking immediately. So I gotta love that. Like, just pure expression of what she believes her experience with time is. And to me, that was just pure wisdom, because I'm like, wow, like I needed to hear that. You're right. Because if it's a point of reference in time or in our experience, then we can shift where we're at with that point of reference, right? So we get to decide how we see something, the perspective we take. And if we're looking at time, then we get to choose the perspective we take. And it can feel like we're not choosing the highest timeline if we're constantly rushing around in a hurry, thinking about how we don't have time. The experience of being busy, having a lot to do, is a beautiful thing. But I have witnessed, and this in myself too, but I've witnessed in other people where they are so busy and it feels so rushed that they're not dropping into the experience. I mean, this is very common, right? So, how can we work with that, right? Like, that alone is allowing time. I mean, you're really not working with time when you're always in a rush, busy, like running around and constantly in the frequency of, I gotta go, go, go. Because time is also to be received in a sense of, I'm going to experience this time without doing. Okay, so that's how we're getting into these different perspectives of time, of what time it is, right? Because there's the time of when we are with our best friend, laughing our hearts out, and like you don't even know where the time went. And there's also times where maybe you're driving in the car and your mind is racing and you're like, I just want to get to where I need to get. And it seems like it's taking forever. Those are different perspectives that you are experiencing in regards to time. This is like, I need to take notes or something. Because like this is how we get to choose to show up. This comes back to like that empowered choice of, okay, I get to experience this in a rushed, hurried way. And it might put me in like this kind of autopilot or like in the mundane, right? That serves me to a certain extent from time to time. Like I might need that. I will tell you, as a mom of four, I need that sometimes. I need sometimes like that automatic, like, what am I showing up to do? Sometimes I need that to get going, and then I'm able to drop in and like be present and, set the frequency of how I want to show up. But there are times where we need to know, like, it's okay to rely on like what we're familiar with. So when we think about like shifting time, where are we wanting to see shifts? Like, what area of your day do you feel like you don't have enough time for? Or like what area of your life do you feel like you don't have enough time for? What's something that you want to do, but you feel like you never get around to because you don't have time? Like, start very simple. This comes back. I talk about this so much. The energetic exchange. Where, like, what are you doing? How, like, sleep. How much are you sleeping? That's going to influence a ton. And just paying attention to, like, where are you putting your energy? Like, am I spending 5 minutes every day talking to myself in the kitchen? I do that. And if I do that when I come home, like, how is that serving me? Like, get curious. Is it serving me? Can it be outsourced? No, like talking to myself, something I'm going to do. Okay. Can it be done with something? Multitasking. I'm a manifesting generator. So, of course, this is coming up. And I'm not saying this is about multitasking. Oh, let's clear the air on that, because that's not how we're expanding time. It could be a way, I guess, how you expand time is where you're in flow and you're doing the things that you are really desiring to do. Like, you are following your intuition. You're like, what do I want to do right now? You will see that, like, you move in a different way than what should I be doing. It's a different experience. And usually you're more efficient. If I'm sitting down forcing myself to respond to emails, even though I'd rather be creating a graphic for my website, it's going to probably take me longer to respond to those emails than if I would do what I want to do and then come back to the emails maybe when I'm more in the mood, or maybe when I can clear my, like, creativity of making that graphic, and then set the intention of, okay, I'm going to set the frequency of, I want to return these emails to be responsive, to be, show up for my clients, show up for my people. That's very different than me, like, I need to respond to emails because it's Tuesday morning, like, your intention of how you're showing up is going to shift your experience of time. And we do this by getting really curious and paying attention, like, what am I doing? Am I spending 20 minutes laying in bed scrolling on my phone before I get out of bed? Does this serve me? Do I need to do it right now? Can I outsource this? Can somebody else read the news for me and maybe tell me what's important, what I need to know? Like, if that's what would serve you, there's probably an app for that, right? Like, there's probably a way to filter your news, or, like, say, let's get my news at 9 a.m. instead of 6:30 a.m. in the bed. Like, there's so many different ways to shift and experiment and then reflect on, how did this make my experience of time change or not? But I guarantee shifting what you do, like the order of the things you do in the day, is going to shift your experience in time. Like, it will. It might not continue, like, it might not stay long term. And this is where you experiment. And this is really where your intuition comes into play. Less of what should I be doing, more of what do I need to do right now? Like, what do I want to do right now? Not need. And need, for me, when I say need, it's like my intuition, like, is my need. But oftentimes I make an empowered choice that maybe isn't aligned. I shouldn't say often. Sometimes I make an empowered choice that isn't aligned with my intuition. The big moves in my life, I'm going with my intuition. And that's me. And what I've experienced with that is time really expands. Like, if I make a big decision, or, like, I commit to something, or I decide, like, this is what I'm going to work on next, I want to say that time expands for me in a way where, like, I have more things to respond to. I have more experiences that play into this, right? Like, I was just talking about how I had this intention for this podcast, and then I had all these experiences and conversations about time. You call it in. So how do you want to experience time? I've done a lot of healing work with money. This is a common place that we want to heal for a lot of people. And so think of, and if you're here, you probably have done some money healing. I guarantee it. So if you're not, then this is going to spark your interest too, probably, because thinking about money and your relationship with money is like a mirror to the relationship with time. Because when we think about, okay, how are we working with money? Money is energy. So are we blaming money? Are we shaming money? Are we guilting money? Are we pushing money away? You know, all of these things that influence our relationship with money. And on the reverse, are we creating safe spaces for the money to flow in? Are we having a plan for what we're doing with the money? Are we grateful? Are we gracious? Are we generous? Those are a lot of G's. I don't know. When you work with money, and the biggest like tip I had ever heard of with money is like personify money. Like, do whatever, have the conversation you need to have with money. Stop blaming money for what you do or don't do, right? Like, these are common things that you hear when you are healing your money wound, but the same applies for time. Are you using time as an excuse for not doing what you want to do? Are you using time in a way that you think it just happens? Like, I have whatever, right? Or do you feel expansive with time where you can manipulate time and your experience with time? Personifying time. Time is our experience here. So we don't need to blame time. And we know that we can experience time in different ways. So work with time. We're going to pull some cards and we're going to just get some clarity on how this can show up for us. And like, it's for everyone, right? Like, this is universal. This isn't like a gift you need. This is something that when you trust and divine timing, right? Like, there's that phrase, divine timing. Okay. But do you fully believe that it's divine? Do you say that beforehand? Or do you wait for things to play out and then say divine timing? They're saying trust in divine timing in all parallels, like in all directions, not in reflection, not just in reflection. Because if you are fully surrendering and trusting that you have everything you need and you are fully supported, then divine timing is part of that, right? Like, divine timing is going to be a part of your knowing that you're in alignment, that you're exactly where you need to be. So divine timing isn't something that you keep to reflection. It is, I know that this is going to happen, and divine timing, I see it happening. I'm deciding that it's happening. And it's going to play out in this reality in divine timing. When you're so clear on your desires and your visions, like, it's not, it exists. And so stepping into that timeline of, okay, I'm in this timeline going to this vision. You're going to be able to experience that path, like that timeline, and divine timing. So much time. We're going to pull some cards. I feel like abundance, right? Like, there's so much time. I heard somebody talking the other day, I think it was on a podcast, And it was like, are you wishing there is more time in the day because you have more things on your to-do list? Like you didn't get to do what you wanted to do? Or do you wish there is more time in the day because you love like the experience, right? Like it's not like because you didn't get stuff done. It is because I want to be more, like I want to see more and feel more and be human more, right? Like it was such an interesting like switch of like I used to be in that like, dang, I wish there was more hours in the day because I wanted to get more done. And it's like I don't necessarily resonate with that anymore, but I also don't find myself thinking like I wish the day was longer so I could experience more, unless I sit in the presence, I sit in the gratitude of every moment. I talked about this a little bit, but I never came back to it, is really being intentional. I know this is like, oh my gosh, you say this every episode probably, but are you being present? I am a mom of 4. I get to be with my kids every day and play and just experience their differences and witness how they want to show up, their perspectives. And it's like, I don't get to experience that if I'm not present. I don't get to feel the beauty and the abundance of that if I'm not present. And I also like don't get to experience the abundance of time, the abundance of experience with time. Okay. I'm gonna pull some cards. Oh, I've already pulled some cards. I gotta flip them over. We have joy, or hummingbird spirit, which is joy. This is number 22. And we have spirit guardian of spring, which is activation, number 36. And then we have foggy bog, which is patience. These are the first 3 that we pulled. And this right here is like, that was 18, 36, and 22. Okay. This right here is like, the patience is like standing out so much because of the divine timing. It is like full trust that like you're not missing out on anything. If something that you think needs to happen right now isn't happening, where is your trust? You don't have, it doesn't even have to be like outside of you. Where is your trust in yourself? Do you trust yourself to sit still? To be still for a minute? Because there's wisdom in that, there's value in that, and it's going to bring in activations. Like it's going to bring in this like new blossoming. It's like you can't blossom if you're not sitting still for just a minute. Like let the water like sink in, right? Spirit guardian of spring. It's like all of these desires, all of these things, they want to like come to you. Like they want to like reach you. But if you're so busy moving around, you're not opening up to the different experiences, the different ways, they're showing me like channels to get to you. There's a lot of like be still, like kind of like this contraction. There's almost like this need of like let the air out. I don't know. Maybe hopefully they're like let loose, just let the air out. You like there's nothing that things that are done in a hurry are it's like things that are done in a hurry are often like chaotic, right? Things that are done in a hurry are for the experience. But where the growth comes is in reflection of the chaos, of reflection of, okay, how did I just move? How did I just experience that? And how can I take that and influence what I want to do next? And know that the activations are going to come in from when you sit and let loose, like let the air out and allow yourself to fill up with the wisdom. The go, go, go. It's like, it's not serving you. Okay. We have Ancient Oak Spirit. We're coming in strong with the grounding. Okay. We have Ancient Oak Spirit and Maple Spirit. I feel like I pulled these two cards in the same reading before. Strength and generosity. Generosity. Where are you being stingy with your time? Okay. If we are sitting in the frequency of, I don't have enough time, you are showing up as, I don't have time for this, to everything. That is not generosity. That is not knowing that you have enough time to do what you need to do what you want to do. You have an abundance of time, right? 2, we have so many 2s. Ancient Oak Spirit, strength. This is inner strength. This is trusting. This is like grounding in the intention that you want and moving about your day in that frequency. This is, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Like choosing. How do I want to show up? How do I want to feel? Do I want to feel rushed? Do I want to feel in a hurry? Do I want to feel like I have to sneak out? Getting grounded. What's it going to take to get grounded in your moments? Like get grounded being in your car ride. Get grounded showing up for work. Get grounded while you're at work. You got 10 minutes at home to meditate or pull cards. Get grounded. They're saying get grounded in what you're doing. And that is taking one moment. This is like a question. How do I want to feel right now? Setting that frequency and being generous with that energy. Exude it. It's like showing me the strength and generosity card. It is like you choose how you want to show up and you put it on your sleeve. Okay. It's like finding that inner light and saying, I'm going to do what I want to do with this. And it's gonna, and deciding how that's gonna make you feel, like deciding how you want to feel through that. And it's gonna like blossom and it's gonna spread and it is going to influence your environment. Whoa. They're saying you influence time with frequency, choosing how you want to show up, putting it out. Like this is not just like in your mind choosing that I'm gonna experience ease at the grocery store. It is showing up in the frequency of ease, radiating it. Look at the red. It is grounded, right? Like it's so grounded, but it's like blossoming and like a banner. Like it's like a whole, the light just is flickering. It's like a billboard. I am here with ease. And what that does to your environment is it, one, it brings ease to your environment. So not only are you showing up with it, but it's now reflected back to you and people are like, look at this person walking through the grocery store with ease. So grateful, like abundant to be able to go shopping, get groceries for their family. Right? Wow. Okay. This is good. We have one more card. Oh, the beauty. We have the wood nymph. I love this card. This is like, let me surrender to the beauty, like romanticism, right? This is like, what is time? Because I am in divine flow and divine movement, and this is not just feminine. This is masculine too, right? This is like the whole reading. It's like the balance of divine feminine and masculine and trust and surrender of like time is on my side. Time is my team. I co-create with time. And it's like experiencing the beauty, experiencing the highs, the lows, like the full spectrum of life. And this is actually how you manipulate time. When you're so present and you are empowered with what frequency you're showing up into. You're expressing that, you're wearing it on your sleeve. And you recognize, oh, I feel the difference in frequency, but it doesn't matter. You're choosing to show up in that. It's like you recognize what could shift your frequency, but you are resilient and you hold it with compassion and with love and like with an open heart. So when you're in this environment, your frequency is staying up here, and they're either raising, their frequency is raising up when it meets you, or they're walking away. Or they're just observing you like, what is this? Okay. I feel complete. I feel like, yeah, I need to go back and take notes. So, okay. I think that's it. I'm just checking, like, if there's anything else that wants to be shared, but yeah, I feel complete. Okay. If you all enjoyed this episode, thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it all the time. I just love hearing your feedback, but I'm so jumbled right now. Okay. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share on social media. You can tag me at the Intuition Playground, or if you'd like to leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it. I love hearing what you have to say, and it really helps the show. So thank you again for tuning in, and I will talk to you next time on the Intuition Playground.